We are so back, baby. We finally made it, boys. I can finally stop pretending I care about my other hobbies or my family because this degenerate, cooked sport that I'm psychotically obsessed with is back this weekend. It's UFC 324, Gaethje versus Pimblett, the first card of the new Paramount Plus era. And I don't even care how good this card is. I don't care that we have a bullshit main event or that the other title fight, Nunez versus Harrison, has fallen out. It could be an Apex card headlined by Chris Mutino versus Tim Means for all I care. It's just so good to have the UFC back in action. Finally, I can stop being productive on Sunday mornings and go back to my usual routine of shouting at my TV and gambling away all my rent money. It's good to be back, fellas. It's a new year, a new broadcaster, and we got a fresh predictions record to kick off with a big card of picks. So you best believe I've done minimal research into these fighters and I'm just picking completely off vibes, looks, and MMA math. The picks have actually been going pretty good, fellas. Here's the receipts from last year. We had 169 total fights predicted. So I started in like August, I think, with the Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingyang card. And since then, we picked 111 out of 169 fights at a clip of 65.85%. I reckon that's pretty decent, but we're looking to go even better than that this year. The locks were really solid. I think I had about the first 8 or 9 in a row before I dropped one, but 15 out of 20 total locks. They're the picks that I'm most confident about. 75% total lock percentage in 2025. Again, we're going to get that above 80 this year. The biggest thing I want to improve on though is my main event picks. I think I picked main events at around about 15% or something last year. I had a full-blown main event curse going on. It was piss fucking poor. So punch-ons this year, we're going to get 99% of main events, and we're starting this weekend with a big one. The card's pretty stacked in terms of good fights up and down the card. The main event is a bit meh. The fight itself will probably be decent, but the idea behind the interim belt is a bit bullshit. There's some weird card placements. Namajunas versus Silva has been moved to the main card because we just had to have a WMMA fight on the main card. The UFC is owned by Disney, I suppose, so that doesn't surprise me. But they did my guy Figgy Smalls and even Umar super dirty by putting them on the prelims. Just goes to show how out of touch and woke the UFC is right now. Justin Gaethje versus Paddy the Baddie is headlining. Sugar Sean is on the card. One of my favourite heavyweight fights of all time in Waldo Cortez-Acosta versus Derek Lewis is on there. Arnold Allen versus Jean Silva should be a banger. Atiba Gautier is ready to decapitate some poor guy. Modestus Bukauskaus, Inner G, Uncle Michael Johnson, the Incredible Hawk. Bro, there's heaps of my favourite guys in the UFC on this card. It should be an absolute hoot. Plenty to talk about, so let's get into it. It's the first UFC card of 2026. Time to punch on. The main event, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim UFC lightweight belt. Let me just get this out of the way quickly before I get on with the fight breakdown. This is a bullshit title fight. These are not the two best guys at lightweight. They're barely number 5 or 6, both of them. So it's complete bullshit that they're having this Mickey Mouse air fight for a paper belt. Ilia Topuria is the champ. Islam's still the best guy in the world. Arman Tsarukyan is the number 1 contender. Max Holloway murks both these guys, and Charles Oliveira probably would too. The UFC has put this fight together just to ensure that they can get as many main events as they possibly can out of this tricky little period while they sort out the massive fights for the White House and International Fight Week and shit like that. Gaethje is coming off an ass whooping to Max Holloway and a rematch win that nobody asked for over Rafael Fiziev. Paddy's coming off wins over Michael Chandler, Bobby Green, and the decaying, rotten corpse of Tony Ferguson. Neither of these two should be fighting for the belt right now. Paddy, maybe, I could somewhat understand, but the UFC has caved into Gaethje's temper tantrum and given him the shot, setting an extremely bad example for other fighters. They've also just done this so they can get Max vs. Charles as a BMF main event without a real title being on the line. All of this has been done at the expense of Arman Tsarukyan, who should be fighting Pimblett in this fight. Anyway, I've said my piece. This fight's fucking bullshit. Let's stop being so negative and talk about the fight itself, because it should actually be a decent scrap. That's the only redeeming quality of this. Stylistically, it is a fun fight. Gaethje, even though I kinda hate him for some reason, he's a sick fighter. Very entertaining, very goofy, and never in a dull fight. Pimblett is right there as well. Goofy, highly skilled, a great shit talker, huge following. He's got star potential, no doubt at all. The fight is set up to be either a banger for the ages or a fast domination for one of the two. Gaethje brings that goofy Rufus-style striking, unorthodox head movement, overhands, leg kicks that make Joe Rogan weak in the knees. He's got a solid chin, although it was cracked recently by Max. Technical boxing at times, high output, can take over as the fight goes on. He's meant to have pretty good wrestling, but I've never seen it. Clear weakness in the jiu-jitsu department, can get absolutely mogged on the ground like we saw against Charles Oliveira and Khabib. Pimblett, on the other hand, brings a decent, improving stand-up game, but still pretty shit boxing, pretty good kicks. He's unorthodox too, but his real strength is on the mat. He's a dangerous jiu-jitsu threat and his ground and pound is pretty nasty. He subbed Bobby Green with ease, and once he got Michael Chandler down, it was all she wrote. He absolutely destroyed Chandler with ground and pound. It was great to watch. Pimblett, in my eyes, is the stronger, faster, more dynamic and more tactical guy. Gaethje has proven to be a pretty one-dimensional fighter, and even though he showed some improvement in the Figueiredo fights and a fair bit of craft and veteran savvy across those fights as well as his fight with Chandler, he's still a pretty basic dude. Leg kicks, scrappy boxing, a bit of clinch work, reset, counter, keep it on the feet. Pimblett, look, if he's got two brain cells, he'll want to get this fight to the mat and take advantage of his clear jiu-jitsu advantage and Justin Gaethje's biggest weakness. If Gaethje can stuff the takedowns across 5 rounds, I think he can take over the fight and land damage, beating Pimblett by decision or even a TKO. Gaethje does have power occasionally, and even though Paddy claims that Scousers don't fucking get knocked out, he does seem super vulnerable to good boxing, and I'm sure we see him get chinned at some point in his career. But it won't be this fight. How I see this one playing out is Paddy playing into the hype a bit early, wanting to prove he can hang with Gaethje on the feet, getting the crowd involved, emoting a bit, hyping things up. Gaethje's going to have a few moments early, maybe chop Pimblett's calves, land a few shots that could even wobble Paddy. I think Paddy will be thinking it's all too easy until he eats a decent shot or combination from Gaethje that wipes the smirk off his face and makes him lock in. Once he does though, and he decides to take this one to the mat, I reckon it'll be over pretty quickly. I'm calling a mid to late round 2 submission for Paddy Pimblett. I can see a rear naked choke or a mounted guillotine, maybe a triangle, something basic that Gaethje just falls into and doesn't have the wherewithal to escape. Gaethje wins round 1, he's looking good. Rogan's completely glazing Gaethje the whole time. Like, this guy's the human highlight reel. Who's better at the calf kicks than Justin Gaethje? Ow! That calf is busted up. But then I reckon Paddy locks in round 2, gets Gaethje down and submits him with ease. Wins the belt, Gaethje retires, and Ilia Topuria is in the crowd and gets called up into the octagon to do a face-off with Pimblett. That fight gets set up for the White House card. So there you go, boys. Pimblett round 2 submission. The Oracle of MMA has declared it. Let's punch on to the next one. In the co-main event, we've got Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong. Obviously, the Kayla Harrison-Amanda Nunes fight is off. Hope Kayla Harrison heals up from her surgery ASAP. I was pretty keen for that fight, actually. Anyway, O'Malley versus Song Yadong. I'm intrigued by this one. It's not the strongest co-main event in the world for a big debut on pay-per-view on a new platform, but it has the potential to be a very entertaining fight. Obviously, Sean O'Malley is a sick fighter, great stand-up style, flashy striking, crazy hair. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sugar back in the octagon against someone not named Marab. He's had a tough couple of years, Sean O'Malley. It'll be good to see how he looks against a guy who's not just looking to hump his leg for 5 rounds. My only worry is he's been talking about retirement, and that's never a good sign for these guys. You don't often see a guy mention the R word and then go on to have a dominant run and enter a second prime. I've been seeing a lot of reels of O'Malley joke training and doing dumb shit and not a whole bunch of serious training, so who knows? I think a lot of people will be picking O'Malley here. 85% on Tapology are going with O'Malley. There you go. I won't be writing off Song Yadong in this one. Song is a powerhouse at bantamweight. Completely different build to the tall, wiry, beanpole frame of O'Malley. Song Yadong is a stocky little nugget of muscle. Well-rounded guy, predominantly a pressure striker and a volume kind of guy. He likes to stand his base and snap out leg kicks and the odd head kick. He's got grappling up his sleeve too. He took down Chris Gutierrez in their fight, showed some decent counter grappling against Sandhagen too. I bring those guys up because, bro, I feel like Charles Sonnen here. I bring this to you because O'Malley's one of those lanky guys like Gutierrez and Sandhagen. He's of that archetype of a fighter. Even though Song lost to Sandhagen, he got his eyes split open pretty bad in round 2 of that fight and he couldn't see shit, bleeding all over the shop, and he still did pretty well in that fight. He beat Gutierrez pretty handily too, by mixing in the wrestling as well. I don't think Song Yadong will be easy work for Sean O'Malley. Song's tough as nails, he's got a solid chin, he's hard to hurt, and he won't go away. I just think think if Sean comes in as good as he's come in before, like against Cheeto the second time, against Murad the first time, against Aljo, he's going to have a lot of physicality advantages over Song, and that's going to be hard for Song to deal with. O'Malley's reach advantage is huge. 72 inches to 67 inches, 3 inches in height, and O'Malley uses his range very well when he fights. I can see him frustrating Yadong in this one. Song will be looking to plant and throw, to blitz in and shoot takedowns, but I don't think O'Malley will be there when he tries. I can see O'Malley dribbling his basketball all around Song Yadong in the octagon, using the space, landing counters, sticking and moving, and putting some visible damage on the face of Song Yadong. I think we'll see Song Yadong have some success at some point in the fight. Maybe he gets O'Malley down in one of the rounds. O'Malley's pretty shit at getting back up to, so it could end up being like a clear Song Yadong round, that one. But I think in the other two, O'Malley looks good, executes his game plan, fights long, lands the cleaner shots, has more volume, and eventually gets it done on the judges' scorecards. I'm calling decision win for Sean O'Malley, 29-28, close but clear fight. O'Malley takes rounds 1 and 3, Song clear round 2. O'Malley gets the hot mic, calls out Piotr Yan for a rematch, and the Sugar Show is back on track in 2026. I'm not going to be surprised at an O'Malley TKO or a Song Yadong win though either, but final pick will be O'Malley by decision. The feature fight, Waldo Cortez-Acosta versus Derek Lewis. This is the fight I'm most excited for on the entire card, boys. In my opinion, the best fight that's been announced in 2026. Who gives a shit about Max versus Charles? Alex Pahura? Bro, it's Salsa Boy versus the Black Beast. This is going to be all-time peak UFC, a historic fight in the heavyweight division. This will be one of those fights that you tell your grandkids about. You will remember exactly where you were when this clash of the titans went down. I've been calling for this fight for months, and we're finally getting it. I'm expecting an incredibly high violence density index in this one. One of those boys is going to sleep. Honestly, trying to predict the winner of this fight is like trying to predict what Donald Trump is going to do next. You don't really know, but you can be certain it'll be explosive and fucking hilarious. Waldo Cortez-Acosta was one of the fighters of the year in 2025. 5 fights in the year, and despite a loss to Sergey Pavlovich, he won the other 4 against Ryan Spann, Sergey Spivak, Ante Delija, and Shamil Gaziev, the last 2 in brutal fashion. This bloke's been on a heater, bro, and he quickly won the hearts of UFC fans worldwide. From a guy who pissed off every UFC hardcore fan with his fight against Andrei Arlovsky in 2024 to now being one of the most beloved fan favourite fighters in the UFC, this guy has had a hell of a glow up. Here he is now, taking on the biggest, most dangerous test of his career. The guy with the most knockouts in the history of the UFC, the Black Beast, Derek fucking Lewis. D-Lew has been all over the shop lately. 5-5 in his last 10 fights, but coming off 2 knockout wins over Rodrigo Nascimento and Taliesin Teixeira. But his last win, while hilarious, was a little bit of an early stoppage and didn't give us much of an indication into what sort of form the Black Beast is really in. We know what we're getting with Waldo Cortez-Acosta. Patient stand-up, good defense, and wicked counters. Heavy hands, and he will punish you if you overextend. Waldo's last couple of fights have been the same. He tries to have a patient fight. His opponents get in his face, back him up against the cage. Waldo bobs and weaves and eats a few shots. He's got a fucking phenomenal chin, mind you, does Waldo. But he stays calm when he's got his back up against the wall and looks for openings while his opponents swing wildly. Think he likes to play possum every now and again too. He did that against Shamil Gaziev. So Derek Lewis, even though he's incredibly dangerous, one of the most dangerous men in UFC history, he will have to be careful here. Waldo is also very, very dangerous. Everyone at heavyweight is dangerous, I guess, except fucking Jailton Almeida. Look, I might as well flip a coin here. Someone's just going to land on the chin first and put the other guy out. But I got to ride with my guy, Waldo Cortez-Acosta. He's been a staple of this channel. I've picked him in every one of his fights since the Robelis Despain fight. Shout out to my brother for his great bet that he won on that fight, by the way. I'm going with Waldo Cortez-Acosta by knockout in the first round. I reckon D-Lew starts patient, attacks the legs. Waldo starts piecing him up at range. D-Lew gets wild and goes for a big combo, gets countered, and dropped and finished by Waldo. This guy is coming for the belt, whether you like it or not. Get aboard the Salsa Boy hype train, fellas. It's chugging along and it's going to mow down Derek Lewis this weekend. Next up, Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. So this fight's been moved to the main card instead of shuffling Umar versus Figgy up a spot. Goes to show where the UFC's at right now. They absolutely must have a women's fight on the main card of this whiz-bang new product they're debuting on Paramount. Look, I get it from a political point of view, but there's a 99% chance that this fight completely kills the card's momentum dead. Oh well, at least we get a shit break. Look, woke bullshit grievances aside, this is actually a pretty high-level WMMA fight. Washed or not, Rose Namajunas is a legend of the game. Despite her being responsible for one of the most heinous acts of terrorism in UFC history with the Esparza fight, she's usually actually not awful to watch, and I will say that she's a highly technical, skilled UFC fighter. Natalia Silva, same goes. She's pretty good too. She's the next big thing up in WMMA. The UFC obviously wants to push her. She's young, attractive, got a pretty fun kickboxing style. She's on a hot win streak, Brazilian. She's got plenty going for her, and a big win over a divisional great in Thug Rose would do a lot for bolstering her claims for a title shot. I don't mind this fight. I'd just like to see it headline the prelims or the early prelims maybe. You just know this one's going to be a 29-28 rangy kickboxing sparring session with a bunch of weird noises. Natalia Silva, in my eyes, is the fresher, faster, more dynamic fighter coming into her prime while Rose is leaving hers. Rose's record's been pretty patchy lately, while Natalia Silva is riding a 13-fight win streak. I'm going with a 29-28 unanimous decision win for Natalia Silva, maybe 30-27. I could see a world where Rose uses her wrestling to neutralise Natalia Silva, but I just think that Silva's going to be too fast and too slick for Thug Rose at this point in her career. Decision win for Silva, completely sucking the energy out of the room, but hey, equal opportunity and stuff, right? Let's move on. Arnold Allen versus Jean Silva. Okay, this one is set to be a banger though. This one will have the arena up on their feet. We've got a sick matchup on our hands here, boys. Arnold Allen versus Jean Silva is basically a number 2 contender fight at featherweight. I can see the winner of this fight being a backup for the next title fight at featherweight, maybe even getting it. The stakes are high here. It's set to be an explosive one. I'm locked in for every one of both these guys' fights. Arnold Allen is a dog. He's been almost perfect in his 13-fight UFC career, losing only those 2 on the trot to elite competitors, Max Holloway and Movsar Evloev. And a lot of people believe the Evloev loss was a robbery. Arnold Allen is right there, man. He's just a chill, humble dude, lets his fist do the talking, and talk they do. He's been out of the cage for some time though. He last fought in July 2024 against Giga Chikadze. That was a pretty close back and forth decision. Giga was kind of piecing him up in round 1, doing his thing with the body and head kicks. The famous Giga kicks were doing work. But credit to Arnold Allen, he made adjustments as the fight went on, got his reads, and took over the fight in rounds 2 and 3 to get the win. He's tough as nails, Arnold Allen. It's going to be really hard for Jean Silva to get him out of there. He did himself proud against Max Holloway too. He did not look out of his depth in that fight whatsoever. We know that Jean Silva fights like a bat out of hell. It's part of why he's been so successful and so popular. But it was also his undoing against Diego Lopez in his last out. I'd normally think that humbling in his last performance would have triggered a period of, reflection for Jean Silva, and he'd come into this fight with a bit more of a measured approach. But come on, bro, this guy is schizo as fuck. Check him out. He barks like a dog, fights like a lunatic, and tried to coward punch Diego Lopez in the back of the head after their fight. He's an absolute psycho. This may be the pound for pound most autistic fight in UFC history. Maybe they should put the AMF belt on the line for this one. Something tells me this is going to be a fucking generational war and a finish. I'm picturing Jean Silva coming out, bouncing around and tapping kicks early. They size each other up for all of about a minute. Then Silva's going to get bored and start going crazy with spinning shit, stepping elbows, rolling thunders, all kinds of shit. As soon as the crowd starts barking and feeding his ego, Jean Silva's going to start clip farming and enter his flow state. This is when things become very dangerous for Arnold Allen, but also for Jean Silva. Silva can get too overconfident in his fights and leave himself exposed. We saw plenty of that against Lopez. When he went for that spinning shit and got taken down, and also at the end of the second round when he lunged in and left himself exposed for the spinning elbow that ultimately finished the fight. I'm very, very tempted to pick Jean Silva here. He's so fucking good, man. He's fast, powerful, dangerous, versatile, aggressive, and fucking psychotic. But I just have a feeling that Arnold Allen's patient, resilient style is going to be the perfect antidote for Jean Silva's craziness. I think Arnold Allen is definitely going to take some damage in this fight, maybe even get finished. I could see that happening too. But I'm going to throw down my first doggy dog pick for the year, and we're going with Arnold Allen. I'm going to say he gets a round 3 TKO after losing the fight, eventually lands a head kick or a big uppercut or something that rocks Jean Silva, follows up with a takedown and some ground and pound, and Silva's too rocked to defend himself properly. It's a risky pick, and it's actually a change from my original read on this fight, but I don't know. I've seen Arnold Allen hold his own against excellent fighters, and I haven't really seen Jean Silva do that yet. When he got his biggest test in Diego Lopez, the bright lights got to him a bit. He went troppo and he got punished for it. That was brutal damage he took in that fight too. He's going to have some scar tissue on that bald dome of his, and Arnold Allen could look to exploit that. I don't think Jean Silva is sane enough to have learned the lessons he needs to from the Lopez fight. So I think he's doomed to make the same mistakes. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit and go with Arnold Allen by round 3 TKO. Go scoop up that dog money, fellas. Thank me later. All right, on to the prelims. We're going to try something new in this vid and just go with quick picks for the prelims. But let's be honest, Umar versus Figgy should be on the main card, so I'm going to treat it as an extension of the main card. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Davison Figueiredo. Umar, even though he's daggy, I've got to give this man his respect for how active he's been lately. Well, 2 fights in a year is considered active for Dagestani fighters anyway. But he's turned around pretty quickly after dealing with Mario Batista in October. Wasn't the greatest performance in the world that, but he got the job done, and we all know Umar's an elite competitor at bantamweight, and he's a serious title contender. He just happened to go up against basically a better version of himself in Merab. We all know how that ended. Even though he got humbled in that fight, he still held his own, and that's more that can be said for a lot of other guys who fight Merab. Figgy's a weird one to predict, bro. In some fights, he looks completely washed, and you think he's going to retire. Then he'll occasionally have a vintage performance against a lower level guy that makes you go, damn, Figgy's the man, bro. He's elite. But Umar's not one of these lower level jobbers like Cody Garbrandt, Montel Jackson, Cheeto Vera, etc. Umar is a young, strong, well-rounded, fast guy, and he's got enough grappling skill that Figgy won't be safe anywhere. I think this one's pretty clear-cut, fellas. Figgy's one of my favourite fighters of all time. I love this guy. It was so satisfying to pick him against Montel Jackson last year, but I think he's in for a rough one here against Umar. I can't honestly tell you a way that Figgy can beat Umar. His best chance is probably to latch up a submission or maybe catch him, but these daggy guys don't really get subbed. I think Umar is much more dynamic and fast on the feet. He hits harder, kicks better, mixes in the wrestling, and if he gets Figgy down, he can hold him there and attack an arm triangle or a rear naked. Look, I think Figgy's got too much championship experience, too much heart, too much toughness to get submitted or KO'd by Umar. Umar doesn't really seem to have a lot of finishing threat, but he does have a very solid control game. He stays safe and he won't mind stinking the joint up to win a decision. That's the only outcome I can really vibe with here, boys. Sad to say it, but I think this is as far as Figgy goes at bantamweight. Respect to him for taking on the tough matchups, but I've got Umar all the way here. Confident pick. I'll go Umar by grappling-based 30-27 decision. Kind of schools Figgy, but stinks the place up completely, and we'll be saying, yeah, that's why this one was on the prelims. All right, now you've heard my thoughts for the main fights. For the rest of the fights, I'm going to power through a bit more quickly, just so we can keep the video under 2 hours. I've got more stupid cooked tier lists and shit to make for you fellas after this, so we better get cracking. If you're enjoying the content, if you like the breakdowns and predictions, and you reckon I should keep doing them, please let me know by commenting below, or at least giving the vid a like. Sometimes I feel like I'm shouting these thoughts into a vortex, so if there are any signs of life out there, it'd be great to hear from you. Otherwise, feel free to just tell me to shut the fuck up and predict the fights and just be thankful with the view. On we go. Atiba Gautier is going to rip Andre Pulyaev's soul from his body while he watches with his own 2 eyes live on Paramount Plus. I can't believe this man would actually agree to fight this monster Atiba Gautier. Either he's got balls of steel, or he's a complete psychopath, or the UFC paid him an ungodly amount of money. But yeah, Atiba Gautier has just been destroying everyone in his way, and this will be no exception. I will say, Pulyaev is probably the best guy Gautier has faced yet, but that isn't saying a huge amount in support of Pulyaev. Just that Gautier has been crushing absolute tomato cans in his 3-fight UFC run. Perhaps Pulyaev can find a takedown and draw this out. It'd be funny if we got a Rebellis Despain versus Waldo Cortez-Acosta type performance here, but nah, Gautier is going to decapitate this man. I reckon we get an Ngannou Overeem level of finish on this one. Round 1 or 2, highlight reel KO for Gautier, putting a lock on it. First lock of the year. It's only fitting. One of my most confident prospects to watch in 2026. There's no way this behemoth's run gets halted by Andre Pulyaev. Gautier by murder. Locked and loaded. Another one that's going to end early and in brutal fashion. Nikita Krylov versus Modestas Bukauskaus. Bukauskaus is another one I kind of forgot to mention in my prospects to watch video. He's 31 or something though, so he only would have been an honourable mention. I think this bloke is a problem at 205, and I think he's going to make light work of a washed up, checked out Nikita Krylov. Krylov got put away easily in round 1 in his last 2 fights against Bogdan Gushkov and Dominic Reyes. And I think Modestas Bukauskaus is way better than both of these guys. Bukauskaus is the fucking Terminator. He's been getting better and better. Jacked beyond belief, probably on the sauce. Yeah, I think he's going to easily dispose of Krylov, put him in a body bag, round 1 KO again. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Bud Light ads in this section of the card. Gautier and Bukauskaus, I reckon they're going to combine for a total of 1 round worth of fighting. So I'm chucking a lock on Modestas too. 2 locks in a row. I already got him with a lock last year. I got him as a lock over Paul Craig and he didn't disappoint. So that's my 2 locks for this card. Prelim fights, big boppers, highlight reel KOs. Go get that money. Thank me with a like and a subscribe. Let's punch on. Alex Perez versus Charles Johnson. Pretty evenly matched fight this one. Alex Perez's record is one of the ugliest I've ever seen recently. Check that shit out on Tapology. He's got like 19 scheduled fights recently, a bunch cancelled, only 1 win against Mateus Nicolau, 5 losses, the rest all cancelled. Ugh, it's not pretty at all. But I will say, Perez is a bit better than his record suggests. He's been taking on all the killers in his division. Figgy, Pantoja, Makayev, Tyra, Almabayev. The poor bloke's copped an absolute shafting from the matchmakers. This is probably his most friendly matchup in a long while, but in a G, Charles Johnson is no pushover. He's actually been in the form of his career, having a bit of a resurgence. Coming off that sick highlight reel KO of Loney Kavanagh, who had a ton of hype before that. He lost to Ramazan Temirov before that, but that guy was juiced to the gills. He had a 4-fight win streak going on before that, including a TKO win over the champ, Joshua Van. That has aged extremely well. I think it should be an even fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go either way. Like I said, Perez is not as shit as he looks, but I got Charles Johnson winning this one by TKO, maybe decision, but I think he gets it done eventually, one way or another. I'll go with a confident Charles Johnson pick, but not confident in the method. Michael Johnson versus Alexander Hernandez. You just never know with either of these guys. Michael Johnson seems to pull random wins out of his ass all the time that you don't expect. And Alexander Hernandez looked washed for a long time there, but now he's riding a 4-fight win streak in the form of his career, and he had a great 2025. I'm not banking on 40-year-old Michael Johnson to put together 4 wins on the trot. I've got Alexander Hernandez winning this one. I'll say club and sub. I reckon he ends up choking out Michael Johnson in the later rounds. Hernandez getting his 2026 started with a big finish win over one of the biggest unks in the UFC, Michael Johnson. Josh Hokit versus Denzel Freeman. Fuck, dude, this one's got coin flip written all over it, but I gotta save that shit for another fight down the card. Heavyweight's always a coin flip anyway, let alone unranked heavyweight. Look, Denzel Freeman did not impress me one bit in his UFC debut against Marek Bulyo. That guy got cut immediately after their fight. That shit almost made me turn the telly off. At least Josh Hokit made a bit of a splash in his debut, getting a hilarious knockout over that big jiu-jitsu wuss, Max Jimenez. Shh, don't tell people I picked Jimenez in that fight. I think it might have actually been a coin flip. Anyway, I got no idea who wins this. Freeman at least looks somewhat technical. Maybe he outpoints Josh Hokit, but the incredible Hok looks to me like the kind of guy who's going to go out swinging and bring the fight to Denzel Freeman. So maybe this goes horribly wrong for Hokit and he gets face planted, but I'm going to say Josh Hokit is able to find the chin of Denzel Freeman. I don't think Denzel looked all that special at all. I'll say Hokit lands a big haymaker that puts down Denzel Freeman in round 1 and and he pounds him out. Should be carnage though. I'm looking forward to the return of the incredible Hok. Ricky Turcios versus Cameron Smotherman. I'm not spending my valuable time studying tape for these last two fights. Turcios is a fucking dweeb, man. Smotherman's probably going to whoop his ass. I'll say Smotherman wins by 30-27 decision, drops Turcios a few times, but Turcios holds on. He's pretty tough at least, I'll give him that. Smotherman by points. Clear. And opening up the card, the big new deal with Paramount Plus, things getting started with an absolute banger. Adam Fugitt versus Ty Miller. Whoa, call the fucking cops, man. This fight is so sick, it should be illegal. Nah, but actually, I have no idea who these guys are. I think Adam Fugitt got his ass kicked by Mike Malott. That's all I remember about him. Legit haven't heard of Ty Miller. Looks like he's undefeated and came through the Contender Series. If you guys got some good goss on this bloke, let me know in the comments. Maybe he's actually sick and the UFC knows what they're doing here. I clearly don't, so I'm going to use up the first coin flip of 2026. Here we go, boys. Heads is Adam Fugitt. Got to be careful saying that guy's name. Tails is Ty Miller. Let's see what the first coin spins us up in 2026. Ooh, we got tails, so we're going with Ty Miller. I'm going to say by KO. I don't think Adam Fugitt's chin is anything special at all. So we're going Ty Miller, KO. Let's see if the coin can get us off to a good start in 2026. Alright boys, here's a little bonus for you legends who hung around to the end of the video. We've got the Ons parlay. Some of you guys have been asking for these ones back, so here it is. This is the multi that I'm going to be putting on for my most confident picks and the ones that I reckon are going to print a bit of coin for you on this card. Remember, gamble responsibly. This is not financial advice, but if it was, it'd be fucking good advice. So I've got a 4-legger for you today, boys, and look, it's not exactly a rough as guts multi here. This one's pretty safe. We're going to keep this one nice and safe. Start off with hopefully with a win for the year, and then we'll build into some better ones as the year goes on. But these are the 4 most confident picks I've got on the card. Modestas Bukauskaus, obviously got a lock on him. Put him on by KO. I don't see him winning any other way. Atiba Gautier, this man knows no other way apart from knocking blokes' heads off. He should win by KO. It's not paying much at all though, but worth chucking in. Umar, he's not paying a lot either. I think I saw Figueiredo around about $9 just head to head, so that's a bit rough. That's fair, to be honest. I reckon Umar's got a very good chance of winning this one. By decision, that might add a little bit of extra value for you. And then Paddy Pimblett by finish, I reckon is a way to go. There's a good chance that he submits him, but Gaethje's chin's been cracked as well. Maybe he knocks him out too. Paddy's hands are pretty decent. We know his ground and pound is very solid. So I'm going to chuck in a double chance Paddy Pimblett by TKO or submission. Now, the odds that I got out of my betting app are a little bit wrong because a few of the fights didn't have the methods up yet. I'm a little bit early on this one, trying to get the video out in time. I just put these 4 blokes in on head to head and it gave me $3.36. It should be better for you with the actual methods as we get a bit closer to the event. So 4-legger, the Ons parlay. Go jump on it, fellas. Let me know how you go and happy punting. And that's it, lads. The full card Ons picks for UFC 324. I'm frothing to have the UFC back this weekend. It's a huge part of my life. Even though the channel's only small, I really enjoy doing this shit. I'd be thinking and talking about the UFC this much anyway, even if I didn't make Ons. So it's nice to be able to share my thoughts and cook rants with you blokes. I hope you're enjoying it. Let me know if you're vibing with the channel, or if you think I'm a total wanker, let me know in the comments too. I probably think you are one as well. So I'm looking forward to plenty of banter and videos in 2026. You know things are just getting started here. You know what to do, boys. All the usual shit. Subscribe, like the video, comment, share it, give me a follow on IG at PunchOnsMMA. I hope the fights over-deliver this weekend, and if not, I hope we at least get plenty of cooked moments to roast and laugh at. I'll see yous on the next fucking schmozzle of a vid. Punch on!